Imagine a world of bone-crunching fatalities, mythical realms, and a storyline so wild it makes comic books blush. That's Mortal Kombat. Since exploding onto the scene in 1992, this franchise has consistently redefined what a fighting game can be. While it might not boast the technical intricacies of Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat counters with a brutal ballet of over-the-top violence, a staggering amount of unlockable content, and a narrative that's as captivating as it is convoluted. The developers at Midway, and later NetherRealm Studios, haven't just rested on their laurels, they've been relentless innovators, constantly experimenting with new mechanics and pushing the boundaries of the genre. We're talking dozens of games across decades, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. Instead of treating sequels and enhanced editions as separate entries, I've grouped them together. So buckle up, because we're about to dive headfirst into a definitive ranking, counting down every Mortal Kombat game from the absolute worst to the undisputed best. Prepare for some controversy, because not everyone will agree with my picks. 16. Mortal Kombat, Special Forces. Let's not beat around the bush. Special Forces isn't just the worst Mortal Kombat game, it's a contender for one of the worst games ever made. It consistently finds itself on worst of lists, and for good reason. Even Ed Boon, co-creator of the series, has admitted to its bumpy development, which was significantly hampered by the departure of John Tobias, another co-creator, midway through production. But even with a troubled development and a key creative force gone, Special Forces simply couldn't be salvaged. The premise, playing as Jax in an action-adventure setting, had potential. But the execution? Abysmal. Awful level design, clunky controls, and repetitive gameplay made it a chore to play. Most gamers gave up on it pretty quickly. It's a shame, really, because Jax deserved better. You could even argue he was done dirty. 15. Mortal Kombat, Onslaught. If Special Forces didn't exist, Onslaught would be the undisputed champion of the bottom of this list. This mobile title attempted to blend the Mortal Kombat universe with a beat-'em-up RPG, but it completely missed the mark. Instead of focusing on compelling gameplay, it leaned heavily into gacha mechanics. This felt like a blatant cash grab by Warner Bros., preying on players' wallets rather than offering a genuinely enjoyable experience. And this is the part most people miss: mobile games can be amazing, but Onslaught simply wasn't. Onslaught's failure was so spectacular that it was shut down after only a year. While the Mortal Kombat franchise has seen its share of missteps, none, besides Special Forces, crashed and burned as spectacularly as Onslaught. It serves as a cautionary tale. Slapping a beloved IP onto a generic mobile game format doesn't guarantee success. 14. Mortal Kombat 4. Mortal Kombat 4 marked a significant turning point for the series, ushering it into the realm of 3D graphics. For the first time, players could experience their favorite characters and arenas in a fully three-dimensional environment. For Malawian Quachas also foreshadowed future innovations, introducing weapons into the combat system, a feature that would be greatly expanded upon in subsequent installments. Unfortunately, Mortal Kombat 4 failed to reach the heights of its predecessors, particularly in the story department. It's infamous for its unintentionally hilarious endings. Jax's ending, in particular, is a prime example, featuring voice acting so wooden it could rival the original English dub of Resident Evil. While the shift to 3D was a bold step, the game ultimately felt like a clumsy transition, lacking the polish and refinement of earlier entries. 13. Mortal Kombat Mythologies, Sub-Zero. It's somewhat surprising that Mythologies, Sub-Zero predates Special Forces. While neither game is a masterpiece, Mythologies at least attempted something different. Its blend of action-adventure gameplay and live-action cutscenes was, at the time, a somewhat novel approach. The game's platforming sections are notoriously unforgiving, and the combat can become repetitive. However, it was an interesting experiment that pushed the boundaries of the Mortal Kombat universe. Without Mythologies, Sub-Zero, we might not have seen features like Conquest Mode in later games. It also expanded the series' storytelling potential, allowing the developers to explore narratives beyond the confines of the traditional tournament setting. Plus, the live-action cutscenes, while cheesy by today's standards, were a unique and memorable element. 12. Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe is an adequate game that makes reasonably good use of its crossover license. The novelty of pitting Mortal Kombat characters against DC superheroes was initially appealing. However, it quickly became apparent that building an entire game around this concept might have been a mistake. The combat, while solid at times, was hampered by mechanics like close combat and free-fall combat, which disrupted the flow of the fighting. But the biggest issue was the lack of the series' signature gore. Of course, DC Comics likely didn't want to see Sub-Zero ripping out Batman's spine. But if you're not willing to embrace the full Mortal Kombat experience, why bother making the game in the first place? It felt like a watered-down version of both franchises, satisfying neither Mortal Kombat nor DC fans. 11. Mortal Kombat, Armageddon. Many players might rank Armageddon higher on this list. As the final chapter in the original timeline, it boasts a massive roster, bringing back nearly every significant character from the series' history. However, this focus on quantity came at the expense of quality. The new characters, Taven and Dagon, were largely forgettable, suggesting that the developers at Midway were running out of creative steam. My biggest gripe with Armageddon is its conquest mode. This is a controversial opinion, but I much preferred the RPG-focused conquest mode in Deception to the action game style of Armageddon. And while the Createa Fatality feature was a neat idea, the limitations of the system meant that the user-created fatalities paled in comparison to the meticulously crafted animations developed by Midway. It felt like a gimmick rather than a truly meaningful addition. 10. Mortal Kombat, 1992. It feels strange to place the original Mortal Kombat this low on the list. It's a legendary game that had a profound impact on the gaming landscape. However, this ranking is based on quality, not historical significance. While the first MK is a good game, it's undeniably simplistic by today's standards. You could easily argue for moving the original up a few spots, but the reality is that the next two games in the series took everything that made MK great and amplified it. They refined the formula, added depth, and introduced iconic characters and features. While the original Mortal Kombat deserves recognition for its groundbreaking impact in 1992, it's simply outclassed by its successors. 9. Mortal Kombat, Deadly Alliance. Deadly Alliance holds a special place in my heart. It was one of the first games I owned for my GameCube, and I was captivated by its full 3D fighting and the ability to switch between different fighting styles. I know that some fans don't appreciate the new characters introduced in Deadly Alliance, such as Bo Rai Cho, Li Mei, and Kenshir. But they're some of my personal favorites. The revamped combat system initially turned off some players, but the added depth and strategic options were a welcome addition. Deadly Alliance also introduced Conquest Mode, though it wasn't as fully realized as it would become in Deception. It was a solid first attempt to push the series in a new direction, but it suffered from some technical limitations. The controversial removal of Liu Kang was also a bold, and arguably questionable, decision. 8. Mortal Kombat, Shaolin Monks. Speaking of Liu Kang, the series protagonist finally received his own spin-off in 2005. Midway had been trying to create a successful side game for years, and they finally achieved it with this action-adventure title starring Liu Kang and Kung Lao as they fought their way through the events of Mortal Kombat II. Shaolin Monks was a clever blend of traditional Mortal Kombat movement and a combo system reminiscent of games like God of War. The co-op mode was a fantastic addition, allowing players to team up and experience the game together. Given the checkered history of MK spin-offs, it's understandable that some fans overlooked Shaolin Monks. But it was good enough that a sequel was planned, only to be cancelled due to Midway's financial troubles. A true shame, as it showed real promise. 7. Mortal Kombat 1. The most recent mainline entry on this list, Mortal Kombat 1, is an excellent fighting game. Some players aren't fond of the Kameo system, but I believe it adds freshness and provides